Being single for a long time comes with its own challenges. We will be identifying these challenges and talking about how to manage them. You're welcome to this channel, Foundation for Family Affairs. I am Chidi Akunna.
And I'm Victor Akunna.
At the Foundation for Family Affairs, our mission is to connect hearts and raise healthy families. And what we'll be talking about today borders on connecting hearts. Hey, it's single talk. Managing challenges on your way to getting hooked. Hey, you want to be hooked? There will be no doubt challenges, but how do you manage these challenges?
For us, it's not necessarily about the challenges. It's about you realizing that these things will happen just because of the phase of life where you're at. Yeah. So it's about you now equipping yourself with the necessary skills to be able to navigate. I mean, the people people celebrate those who are able to achieve despite the challenges that they face. So the issue here is not necessarily about the challenges. It's about what you can do. What can you control? You can't really control people's behavior, but you can control your behavior. You can control how you are going to manage each of these different phases. So this video is about giving you the necessary knowledge and the skill for you to be able to develop that skill that will help you navigate these challenges, and to the point where they become something that you reference and say, you know what, I used to be like this, now I'm like this, you know, so that you can now encourage other people at the end of the day. That's what we like to see of.
Okay. Yeah. So singlehood is good. It's a time to do a lot. You can improve yourself. You can prepare. Okay, if you're looking forward to getting hooked, why not?
It's a time for self-discovery.
It's a time for self-discovery. I like that. Okay, and that's even critical, the point you raised, because when I discover myself, I know who I really need to get hooked to.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about some challenges. We will highlight 5, which we think will really benefit you if you're watching this. Feel free to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so yet, and click the notification bell so you're notified when we drop our content. And feel free to share this with friends and folks you know will benefit from this. All right, so the first point we have for you today is loneliness. Loneliness. That could be a challenge. Okay, I was speaking with someone in the course of the week, and we're just talking about how that can impact you, especially if you've been in that phase where all of your friends have moved on. Okay, and you feel, when we get together, there's not really much we can talk about. Okay, you could be in the midst of friends and still be lonely. Okay, I think I was having this conversation with somebody, and by the time we looked into her life, she had a number. There were friends there, but the thing was, she wasn't open to those friends. There was no vulnerability. She couldn't really share things the way she thought, and that meant that was more like having no friend. Okay, so she was still having those things there, emotions that should have been released, that could have been released in the course of talking with somebody else. Problem shared is half solved. So yes, you need people. You can't walk in isolation.
Now, when we talk about loneliness, we're not talking about being alone. All right, so some people can be alone, you know, be by themselves, but they can have a good time. Loneliness is that place. I like what you said in terms of, it doesn't matter, you may have people, but you don't feel that emotional connection with the people in your space. So it might be because of the phase of life or something you are dealing with at work, but the loneliness we are referring to here is when you feel people don't get you. When you feel that you can't really connect, you have a lot of people, you can't really connect with the people around you. So in this regard, so it's not every single person that is lonely. All right, so if you are lonely, you need to be able to sit down and kind of reflect to be that, is there a part of me that I've suspended? In other words, I'm saying that, okay, I will not manifest this part of me until I get married. You need to be able to find out that. All right, so if you are holding a part of your awesomeness because you are waiting to get together. So for example, some people will think, oh, I can't pursue this phase of my life because I don't want to go all far and then get married to a guy or a lady who may not want me to, you know, be in a different place. You know, people have different belief system around getting married, who they need to be to get married. So in this case, it's about thinking through and saying, why am I lonely? All right. Am I feeling incomplete? Am I waiting for a spouse to complete me? Is there a part of me that think that I can't live a fulfilled life, I can't fulfill my potential unless I get married? you have to reflect this, because these are some of the things that may trigger some form of loneliness. So you just find yourself around people, but you're not connecting. So
Yes.
so even if you are lonely, if you are lonely, work on that. Now, if you are alone, there are practical things that you can do. You can decide to live and connect more with people. So because when I was single, I didn't feel lonely. Why? Because I had things I was working on. I don't know. Were you lonely?
Oh no, I wasn't.
Why? What were you doing?
I had friends who we would just come together and go off for conferences, for several events. Okay, we had like interests. That's what I was trying to speak to. Okay, so you can look for people with like interests, because you can't feel comfortable in everyone's company.
No, you can't.
Okay, so as long as you have like interests, what you find fascinating, they find fascinating.
So what we're trying to say is that pursue your purpose while you are single. All right. She said conferences. In other words, self-development. She was intentional about self-development. I know this because we were friends at the time. She would say she's going for that conference. She's going. She was full of life. We were just friends then. We're not hooked yet. All right. So yeah, and so she was constantly going for one conference. She had friends who shared similar passion, shared similar values. I had a business I was trying to grow at the time. So
I traveled a lot.
Yeah, she was traveling, and also developing herself. So I was also growing and developing myself as well. So what we're trying to say is that while you're single, don't put any part of your life on hold. All right, pursue your purpose, pursue your career, grow, keep getting better, because the marriage that you are trying to build will require you to be a certain kind of individual. So you have to grow and become that person, so that you'll be able to create that kind of marriage. All right. So marriage is about skills and competence, about knowledge, and certain behaviors you need to be able to model. So you have to grow to that point. I think we'll flog this topic enough, but you get what we're trying to say.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So the next possible challenge is pressure. And when we talk about pressure, I like to look at it from the two parts, external and internal. It is possible when we talk about external, you're dealing with your family, with people just generally, okay? It's possible to avoid people if they're not really your kin, they're not very close to you. You could avoid them because you don't feel comfortable each time they see you, they have to talk about or ask you why you're still single. Okay, it's possible to avoid those. But when it's family, it's like, oh, whoa, they're you're constantly in your face. Like if it's your mother. Some people are able to still avoid their moms, but some can't. Okay, so in a case like that, it's not about the pressure coming from outside. It's about how you manage it, what it does to you. Okay, and that's why when we started, we're talking about personal development. You need to work on yourself. You need to work on your esteem, work on your image of yourself. So when those things come, it won't bother you much. When they call you and they're saying, oh, do you know your friend, this friend just had a baby or something like that, you're able to, because you have a good perception of yourself. It doesn't lead you to that state where you start feeling low, feeling like I have failed because I'm not married. Okay. And then do you want me to go on with the internal?
Go ahead, yeah.
So internal is just you putting that pressure on yourself. Okay. You see friends who maybe your mates and they've gone on to marry, have children, and sometimes you start feeling so pressured. So it still goes back to how you feel, how you perceive yourself, your image of yourself, and that's what you need to be working on.
That's so beautiful. Sometimes people from external pressure come from people who love you, and they have a certain standard in their head. Oh, my daughter, my son should get married at this age, so they are feeling pressure and they are transferring that pressure to you because they have a what do you call it now? They have a way of measuring how far you have gone. All right. So now it's okay if you are happy with the way you are, that pressure will not affect you. I'm telling you.
That's true.
For example, some people don't want to have a baby. It's their plan. Not that they have any physical challenges. They don't want to have a baby. They feel they will not have the emotional wherewithal. They will not have the presence of mind. The kind of career, they will not be able to give the best to the child. So they say, okay, we're going to hold on for the next 5 years. We're not talking about babies. So that's their decision, and they are at peace with it. So if someone from outside is telling you, why are you not having a baby, they won't be bothered really much. You see, so that's different. But the problem is when you want to have a baby, you feel you should have a baby. You've already planned that by the time you are 60, your baby should be 40 something, or or 30 something. You already have that. So anybody who's putting pressure on you will be triggering something because it's in alignment with something you've already had. So the pain will be more. Okay. Now, on the internal one, sometimes we have our own, just like the example I gave, sometimes we have our own guide that will say, oh, by this time I will have gotten married to somebody that will be doing this, somebody that will be doing that. Then you find yourself in that situation whereby some of the guys who are coming, they don't hit some of the targets you had in your head. And so you are creating unnecessary pressure for yourself. You are thinking, if I go with this guy, before this guy will become this kind of posh kind of person. If I go with this girl, I have a lot of work. So those pressures, so there's a lot of options and you're confused all over the place. So that can bring a lot of pressure. So someone is asking, so is it this person or is it that person? And like, I'm not quite sure. So all that kind of a thing can bring pressure. So clarity of mind, you have to have clarity of mind to say, you know what, this is what I want and this is what I don't want. Have your, what we call, negotiable and non-negotiable. Have that clear in your mind to say, okay, this is not happening right now, but these are the areas where I'm also accomplishing growth. I'm also making progress, because it's very important for you to be able to have that clarity in between that. Otherwise, for me, external pressure is easier to manage, but when you have dealt with internal pressures, if you don't deal with the internal pressure, external pressure will be very difficult. All right. So deal with your own personal listen and be at peace with, find something to be grateful for. All right. So for example, there are times I have some personal internal pressures on different issues. Sometimes on finance, you have some specific financial goals. So if you're not careful, you lose sight that you have some very good things that are working for you. All right, you have some projects that is going to generate income, but just that it's at the early stage. That's something. That means there's money coming in the future. Okay, you have an investment that you are making that is making progress. You have some other things you are chasing. You have some application that have gone somewhere. So you have to realize that you should be able to celebrate things that are not just at the final harvest stage, but at the seed stage, at the gestation stage, at the idea stage. Celebrate things so that that pressure will not be too much on you.
Yeah, so we're just encouraging you to have a positive disposition.
Absolutely.
In this phase.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then another challenge you may be posed with is rolling with married folks. Okay, some people find this one really difficult because like you gather as friends and sometimes some are talking about their spouses, their children, and then it looks like you don't have much to talk about. Okay, but while I would say this sensitively, I think I love it when I have some single friends and they even ask questions. They're asking you, how did you do this? How was it when you had your baby? Things like that.
Fantastic.
Okay, that's the attitude, the disposition of someone who is learning, who is open to learning. So we don't always have to wait until we're going through something or we get into a phase to begin to learn. So they are taking advantage of the fact, and I was like that when I was single, and I had a number of friends who were already married. I asked questions. I wanted to know. I even asked them about some of them, their first nights, questions like that. I wanted to know. So it was just beautiful, to drink from the experiences of others. And that's the disposition you can have. But some people could find that really challenging. And it might begin to affect their esteem, like we were saying earlier. So you see, it's something you may need to work on. So when you're in the midst of such people, if it affects you that much, then maybe you need to try and make some friends as well, some single friends. Okay, go out there and see where you can find if you're a lady, single guys as well, who you can talk with. All right, and I have friends though who would say to you, introduce me to some of your friends. So, but just be open-minded, really.
Yeah, I think this is similar to the point we talked about, we mentioned earlier, which is, if you deal with the internal pressures, external pressure will be easy. Because this can also be an example of an external pressure. You may have some married friend that be like, oh, I have no boy in your life, It means, is there any guy in your life? Is there any girl in your life? if they are putting that kind of pressure, you may want to talk to them, have a conversation with them to say, yeah, don't worry, when it's time, I'll let you know, kind of. Or throw it back at them. Introduce me to some of your, throw it back at them. Sometimes you just flip the coin and tell them, yeah, introduce me. How many people have you introduced me to? Please don't stress my life. You can do something like that in a very funny way that everybody kind of relax, telling them that you don't like being thrown those kind of questions at you that way. So that's one. And if they insist, sometimes you may want to minimize, right? Because your mental health is very, very, very critical. And you have to be in that emotional state to be able to attract people. Yeah.
But there's a thin line between that and getting too sensitive. So you need to be careful that you're not the one who is just being oversensitive. Like, oh, they're married now, they're going to be feeling like something. No, just, work on your mind and be sure what your motives for doing what you do. Okay, so the next point, which could be a challenge, is false expectations. And what do we mean by that? You have a lot of false expectations of the kind of person you want to end up with, the one. Right? Are your expectations realistic? When we're talking about expectations, some people want it X, Y, Z. If it doesn't go in that order, and if all three are not present, then it's not possible. We're talking about negotiables and non-negotiables. I mean, on things bordering on your values, your faith, your belief. You want to be strong on those. I'm not budging on these. Okay, they've got to have that because these are really strong points on which people later go apart and really fast. Okay, but you wanted to build something. I believe that would last. The test of time. So on those issues, you don't want to budge. But when they're not really realistic expectations, and you just have those, things that make you really excited, then you want to be querying. Could this even be the reason I am still single? It's just a question to pose, to ask yourself.
What we mean by negotiable and non-negotiable, because what we mean by negotiable and non-negotiable standards or qualities are things that decide whether you say yes to somebody or not, or whether you pursue someone or not. Okay, so for example, faith is critical. That's fundamental. Okay, your belief system. That's because your faith influences how you spend money, how you parent your children, the kind of opportunities you take, what you pursue, where you go. Your faith is so critical. So if people don't share your faith, you guys will disagree on very fundamental levels. So you have to be sure that one, you guys are in alignment. And even your faith, you have to discuss, because within faith, we have different sections. You have to find out belief system on very important things. For example, two people might be Christians, but they may vary in fundamental belief system. You have to talk it through. Don't assume. One of my mentors will say assumption is the lowest level of knowledge. Never assume. Assumption in science is untested. If not unproven, you have to test it. You have to ask. You have to probe. Don't assume. Okay. So that is so critical in terms of agreeing that. Now sometimes people have certain expectations because of the group of friends they roll with. Oh, everyone is talking. If the guy is not 6'4", if he doesn't have 8 packs, if he doesn't drive this car, there's nothing wrong with that. But those may not be your own standards. Find out. 10 years from now, what would matter to me? 20 years from now, what will matter to me? Those enduring things that will matter to you, they should be at the top of your list. So I feel like character traits, person that is a person of integrity, someone who prioritizes other people before himself. So someone who is not selfish, someone who goes out of their way to be of service. These are enduring qualities. Someone who does not give up or just in the face of a little challenge. Someone who does just walk away when the problem is intense. That's why you see some men just walk away and leave their families. So these are enduring qualities. Forget about the physics. Physics are important because you need that in your child. But yes, right. So let's not. Some people will say, "Oh, if she's not fine, no, I want my wife fine." Beauty
but is in the eye of the beholder.
Yes, but there is some universal beauty. But what we're trying to say is this. Look for qualities that are enduring, that 10 years from now, they are still going to be important to you. 20 years from now, they're still going to be important to you. And those are the things that should make top of your list. Then you now begin to cascade down. So if you don't meet the other ones down, you can still say, okay, we can manage it. So the guy is not 6'4", okay, is 5'9", we can go ahead with that. All right.
Yes.
So, but character traits, those are non-negotiable. You have to have those.
Okay, so the last point we have for you today is the question: could this be the one? You know, some of us have that like a big thing in front of us every time we see someone of the opposite sex. Okay, you just look at, could she be the one?
Yeah.
Could he be the one? Could this be the one? You know, you're asking those questions. What it's good to ask, okay, but what that does, if taken to the extreme, is it blurs you from actually connecting with people. Building friendship, just establishing friendship, approaching people with curiosity, wanting to know, who are you? How are you? What do you do?
Powerful.
You know, just mingle, you know, without any attachment and see where that goes. And a lot of beautiful relationships have come up, have been formed through that, you know. But when you have that question before you, it just makes you, sometimes, if you're looking out and you're saying, could she be the one? And then you just see something she does, you're like, it just makes you shut down. And you're like, no, she can't be. You've not even explored. You've not asked that. You don't know her. Okay, so you want to be, you know, feel free to approach people.
I like the word you use, curiosity. Approaching people with curiosity. All right, everybody will not be your spouse. Some people will be your business partners. Some people will open doors to you. So if you just have this, you know, when you said it, you know, I had this thing in my mind, like someone having a ruler and just measuring, based on your statistics, just measuring, oh, did she meet up? Did she meet up? Did she meet up? You were forgetting that this person is something that you're supposed to, probably you're going to start a charity together. You know, relationships there are many, you know, things you can do with people. You can start business, you can run business, you can run a charity. Someone can be your idea partner. There are many things. So don't just have that perspective to say, you know, why I'm saying this, you know, it's funny that I did that when I was also, you know, when I was looking for a spouse. So I just had that at the back of my mind. Oh, is she the one? Is he the one? You know, of course, is she the one? That's all I was thinking about. And so I couldn't build some kind of relationship with some people. You know, things changed when I kind of relaxed and entered my place of peace. That's when things changed. And I just, you know what? I know I'm going to find the right person. Let me just focus on building myself. To be honest with you, that was a huge level of peace that came into my heart. That was when I now started interacting with her. I now realized that, wait, she even has the quality, but she was in my face, but I never recognized her because I was busy carrying, you know, mystical ruler all over the place. Yeah, placard, and just measuring, you know. So until I entered my place of peace, you know, when you want something you are obsessed about something and you decide to you know what? I'll let it go. That was what I did, and I just come to that point and say, you know what, God, I hand this over to you. Just help me out. That was it, to be honest. So sometimes we can take these other principles to the extreme. You need to get to that point where, you know what, take a back seat and say, you know what, God, I've done it my way, it's not working. Just you take charge. I will try to do my best. I'll try to grow. I'll try to be a better version of myself. And that was what I did. And the story became, like they said, the rest is history.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, Foundation for Family Affairs, please hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it so you're notified when we drop our content. And feel free to share this. If some of the points we've talked about resonate with you and you think will help some of your friends, feel free to share this video. If you have liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And I'll let you say something before we say our final goodbye.
You guys are the reason why we do this. Yes. You know, we know that somebody will go to watch this and their lives will get better. Otherwise, it's very intense doing video every week. But we are committed because you guys are committed. We love you guys. Bye.
Bye.